Hey everyone, and welcome back. So after releasing my list of the top 10 games of 2022, I think it's time to shine some light on some of the hidden indie gems that also released last year that maybe just didn't quite make the list of top 10 overall games. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at 5 great games that released last year, and although they didn't make the list of top 10, they would still be what I consider a hidden gem on the Nintendo Switch. Now, to me, a hidden gem is a game that, based on its sale price, is really offering an amazing gaming experience. Or, on the other hand, a game that is offering just an experience that you don't get from first-party games because of an amazing originality. Now, some of these games actually have a review on the channel, others have been featured in eShop deals throughout the year, and lastly, just as a heads up, I am also planning to do more than one video on this subject. So if you have any other games that released last year that you would consider hidden gems, please leave them for me down below in the comments. But now let's jump into the games for today. Just remember, if you do end up liking the video, please hit that like button. Now, our first game for today is one that I fully reviewed on the channel, and that is Blossom Tales 2: The Minotaur Prince, that has a regular sales price on the eShop of only $14.99 and released on August 16th of 2022. This game is a top-down action-adventure game, and yes, it is heavily inspired by the Legend of Zelda series. Now, a lot of games do come out trying to copy the Legend of Zelda formula, however, few are as successful in my opinion as the Blossom Tales series, while at the same time injecting originality. The game is told from the perspective of a grandfather telling a bedtime story to his grandkids, of which the kids actually become the main protagonists. This leads to some amazing interactions and also one of the game's most interesting mechanics, where at certain points you get to influence the story, like the choice of enemies you'll face or what puzzles you'll have to solve. The dungeons also have their own flair, with often more than one path you can take to complete them. And just like the first game, it is filled with nods to its inspiration. However, in my opinion, what might have started out as a Zelda clone is now developing its own legacy. Now, our second game for today is Infernax, that released on February 14th of 2022 and has a regular sales price on the Nintendo Switch eShop of $19.99. Now, this game is a 2D action Metroidvania. And if our previous game was a nod to the Zelda series, then this one is very clearly a nod to Castlevania. More precisely, it's a nod to one of the less popular entries of the NES era, which is Castlevania II: Simon's Quest. In this game, you are a great knight who, upon returning to his homeland, finds it plagued with unholy magic. You therefore set out on a quest to find and destroy the source of the corruption. The pixel art here won me over immediately, with what I would call a grotesque beauty, and it is accompanied by a great soundtrack that really complements the environments. One of my favorite points of this game is that it also centers around making choices that will influence your adventure and ultimately the ending of the game, of which there are multiples. Also, making the kind choice in this game won't always result in a rewarding payoff, leaving you always wondering if you made the right one. Now, this leads to another one of my favorite qualities of this game, a huge amount of replayability and also customizability. Now, one thing is certain after playing this game, it has definitely left me waiting in hopes of the announcement of a sequel. Now, next on our list of great indie gems of 2022, we have Super Cyborg, that released on April 1st of 2022 and has a sales price of only $7.99 on the Nintendo Switch eShop. First of all, no, this game is not an April Fool's joke. It is rather a 2D action run-and-gun shooter, very much in the style of the Contra series. Now, contrary to our two previous games, which pulled inspiration but ultimately offered a truly unique experience, this game feels much more akin to a spiritual successor, in the same vein as the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon series did for Castlevania 3. So much so that if someone told me that this was a recovered ROM of a long-lost NES Contra game, I would believe them. Now, you are playing an elite cyborg sent in to eliminate a powerful alien threatening humanity and ultimately save the world. In this game, 7 levels with 3 difficulty options and hordes of enemies is all you need for an amazing time, with even one of the levels using the top-down style introduced in Super C. Now, it does have some modern improvements, like unlimited continues rather than a set number of lives for the whole game, making it much more a test of memorization but also endurance. And the fact that it is also sold at an amazing budget price makes it an easy pickup for under $10, even when it's not on sale. And ultimately, this game is proof that you don't need to reinvent the wheel to make a good game. Now, the next great game I want to take a look at is going to be HunterX, that released on July 14th of 2022 and has a sales price of $14.99. Now, here we have another 2D action Metroidvania. However, rather than a pixel art style, this one is rather going for a modern 2.5D look that is very anime inspired. It also borrows slightly from Souls-like games in its combat system, which is heavily geared towards dodging and also collecting currency from fallen foes to invest into powering up your character. And once again, this leads to some nice personalization options, but also possibly some farming when faced with an overwhelming boss fight. And the boss fights are definitely a centerpiece of the experience here, and they are numerous and varied, especially considering the overall gameplay time. Now, on a side note, be aware that they do try to inject a storyline and present some characters in interesting ways, but in my opinion, it falls a bit flat and disjointed. So don't come here for a deep, well-constructed narrative. But overall, the game looks good, plays good, and offers some great boss moments. And at only $14.99 is definitely deserving of a gem status. Now, our last indie gem is maybe one of my favorites of today's list, and that is Elechead, that released on June 23rd of 2022 and sells for $9.99. Now, this game is a puzzle platformer with a very simple yet extremely charming almost 8-bit art style. You play as a tiny robot deep inside a factory that wants to bring light back to the world. The goal is simple: make your way through the factory to its heart, solving all the puzzles along the way. Now, to solve the puzzles, you will be using your head, literally, since it conducts electricity to everything it touches: platforms, switches, and even traps. The controls are extremely simple and intuitive, needing almost no instructions at all. And as you progress through the game, you will only acquire a couple of extra abilities like throwing your head. But what is really amazing about the game is the ingenious design throughout the levels that forces you to think outside the box and use these simple controls in unexpected ways. Now, the basic adventure is short yet sweet at only about 2 to 3 hours, depending on how much the puzzles will challenge you. There are also a few secrets to extend your playtime, but when a game leaves you wanting more, for me, it's a good sign. And overall, this game is the proof that simple design meets perfect execution can produce a great game. So we're now at the end of our 5 games for today. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below, and don't forget to wishlist the ones you're interested in, because they most likely will be featured in eShop deals as soon as a sale hits. And just as usual, don't forget on the way out, if you did like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and click on the notification bell so you know when all my future videos come out. And as usual, I hope I'll see you in my next video.